been a minute.
I know. It's been boring without you. Just saying. It's different. It's just different.
Feel.
Just don't tell the others I told you. Shh.
Yeah, we'll keep it a secret.
Yeah, just us and the listeners.
Just us.
Oh, keep it a secret. I see what you did there. Ah, secret. That's how I know you're not a scroll.
Right,
That's how I know.
right. If I didn't pick up on it, then I would be worried.
Yeah, so that's how we know. All right, let's start this. Welcome to. Damn, my throat just went.
Every time. See, that's how I know you're not a scroll. If you got your intro right on the first time, I would be a little worried.
There we
Then
go.
I would be like, this isn't Dave.
There we go.
It's too perfect.
There we go.
First time? No.
No, of course not. Welcome to Something to Marvel About, a podcast where we discuss and dissect MCU releases. My name's English Dave, and help me pretend that thing didn't happen, is my co-host Raven. What's up, Raven?
What up, Dave?
That thing didn't happen. No, it didn't happen. I don't. Oof. I mean, one of those things where you didn't realize you cared until you lost it. That's what happened to me this episode. Like, I didn't realize I cared until I lost it. We're here to talk about Secret Invasion, Episode 1, Resurrection. Raven, tell fans how long you've been waiting for this series.
Wow. I guess since it all began.
Right.
For those of you that don't know, I was kind of like a late bloomer in terms of actual comics or like getting into Marvel comics. I didn't become a fan until I grew up watching all the shows. So I grew up watching like X-Men and stuff like that. And I grew up around family that actually read the comic books. But I started getting more into it when I got into college. I went to school for graphic design. So I feel like naturally, there's a lot of comic book nerds I'm in school with. And at the time actually, Civil War was out and it was the Ultimates storyline coming out, and Dave was super into it, and he had just gotten another friend of ours at the time, Keith, into it. Both of them were reading Civil War, which led to Secret Invasion, which was pretty dope. And every edition that came out, they would like just kind of give me the updates. They would like tell me all the bullet notes, so they would read it and they'd be like, "Oh, Raven, so and so is a scroll." So like, it was always big news. So I remember being excited with everyone, even though I wasn't actually reading it. Everybody in my school was, people in my dorms were reading it. And then I eventually did read all the books, which was great. But yeah, so it's like it's been since 2008,
Oof.
right? At
Oof.
least.
It's
Oof.
been a while. It's been a while. No, Secret Invasion
Wow.
was one of my favorite story arcs, and like you said, it came right out of
It
Civil
kind of
War.
started it
Yeah.
all. I felt like that really. And I also feel like Civil War, Secret Invasion, and all of those, like the ultimate storyline at least, is kind of what really, really kickstarted what's now the MCU. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. What is it, 12
Yeah,
years?
it's
13?
shut up. I don't want to hear that.
Thir-
Don't say the number of years, Raven. You know when your parents are like 12 years ago, and you used to think, well,
Wait, I think it's more. That's
it's
painful.
probably more. Iron Man 1 is 15
Ooh,
years. So,
so exactly that long.
like Raven, Iron Man 1
Wow.
is 5 years away from being
I
a.
met you like 3 months before Iron
I know,
Man.
and it's almost back to the future,
Well,
really.
no, after a couple of months after
Same
Iron
year,
Man.
same year.
Wow.
It's almost back to the future, worthy. Can you believe that? Like
Wow.
that's how long we've known each other,
I met you right around what we thought was going to be the best Hulk movie we ever had,
right? Right?
that we were ever going to get.
Like we thought
We thought that was going to be the best
we
Hulk
thought
we were
we'd take
ever
our
going to get.
grandchildren to see Avengers 1. That's how we were like not
This is
sure what
true.
was going to happen, you know.
We thought if Secret Invasion ever came out, we would be dead already. We thought it would be like we would be
Right.
barely coherent when it came
Right.
out.
Like how people get
Yeah.
new Star Wars films now from the original films. You know, that kind of gap. Like
Yeah.
that's how I thought it'd be.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna have at least 10,
right?
15, 20 years
Right?
between
Like
movies.
now
I
we'd
thought
get
they
the
were gonna
Avengers at
do
least.
okay. Yeah, and I thought every movie was gonna do
Yeah.
okay. You know, I didn't think the world as a whole
No.
would be as equally
Yeah.
excited as a bunch of college
Right?
nerds.
Crazy.
You know, like the
Crazy.
whole world. Like
Crazy.
it's like an international sensation.
It's insane. Insane. One difference though with this show is that because of the players involved, and it's not necessarily a direct result of Civil War, it's more aftermath of Thanos, the players are different, right? Which for me is exciting because I have no idea. Just it's one of those situations where just because you read the comic doesn't mean shit. Nothing.
Not at all.
Doesn't mean anything. Just the name and the theme is the same. Everything else is completely different. Yeah.
The greatest thing I think about reading the comics is just knowing the characters and knowing what characters might do based on what you know about them. So you get to like speculate a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. But you know, the great and terrible thing about the MCU is you don't know shit
No.
because this character could change completely based on one different
Mm-hmm.
action that the MCU changes from comic to movie. So you know, it is very like it's still exciting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you and I have no idea.
It's different players on the
Even
board.
in reading it, we don't know who's going to be a scroll and who's not. And it's also like the way that things have kind of played out
Mm-hmm.
is so different
Mm-hmm.
because even in terms of the storyline where Secret Invasion is now falling, um, Secret Invasion technically is happening after
That's what I'm saying.
a lot of events that were caused by Secret Invasion in the comics. So it's kind of weird. Like, you know, I really have no idea where this is going.
And there's whole characters who didn't exist in the comics, like Talos doesn't exist in the
Right.
comics. You know, his daughter doesn't exist in the
Wow.
comics. You know, the comics focus more on the superheroes as the lead. Even though Nick Fury is the one that found out first, this one's more focused on like more ground level. You're not going to see Iron Man. Iron Man was still alive. You know, he's dead. He was a big proponent of Secret Invasion, Iron Man, Thor, and all these characters. The main
True.
Avengers.
That was a big reveal.
Yeah, Mockingbird was a scroll. Hank Pym was a scroll. So these characters, I don't see them showing up in the series, and that's why I say the players are
No.
completely different, which I like. I mean,
Like, I doubt we're going to see Ant
no,
Man in Secret
no,
Invasion.
no, absolutely not.
Honestly, I was surprised to see Ross,
Oh,
which, you
let's
know,
start there.
technically,
Let's start there. I like what you did there. You
oh,
know,
killed that.
before the opening credits,
Killed that
before the
segue.
opening
Speaking
credits,
of
we
Ross,
exactly we get a moment where Ross is this crazy agent is telling Ross about information that he's found, and which leads to us finding out that Ross is a Skrull. Raven, the question asks, I have to ask you, how long has Ross been a Skrull? Did it just happen now? Did it happen in the Wakanda? Because what we do know is that the Skrulls have been around on Earth since the 90s, right? They came with Captain Marvel. And so
yeah.
if they came in the 90s with Captain Marvel, how long has Ross been a Skrull? Did he just become a Skrull, or has he been a Skrull the whole time and we've never seen the real Ross? Or was he a Skrull in
I mean,
Wakanda too?
Ross has always been very optimistic and very open minded to outer worldly or crazy ideas. So it would make sense that Ross was never a human to begin with. But I'm not sure because you know, if Ross was a Skrull during Infinity Wars, that's crazy because Ross knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the Skrulls know everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and also knowing the energy source that is Wakanda, and there's just so much information um Ross knows and could know, especially now also finding out that Ross is one of them, quote unquote, and isn't even one of our
Oof.
scrolls is kind of scary.
I like that you touched on that. Well,
Yeah.
I just want to go there quickly. One thing I love that Captain Marvel did, and this show does, is kind of show us that this, like, unlike the comics, the Skrulls aren't all evil, right? That's when we were wondering before when we saw Captain Marvel. We were like, how are they going to do Secret Invasion if we like the Skrulls? We like Talos, we like them,
Right.
and actually, I want to jump ahead. What do you think of the narrative of why this sect of Skrulls is upset? And as a reminder, it's because, you know, when Captain Marvel happened in the 90s, which is 30 years ago,
Oof,
They were promised at
oof.
the end of that film because you have to remember that the Kree destroyed their homeworld, and Captain Marvel and Nick Fury promised to find him a new home.
Mhm.
In the Marvel universe, it's 2025. Remember, they're ahead of us,
30 years ago too, so
so they haven't found a home yet. And that's why people are mad and they're angry. They're like, "You promised us. I want to, home in my own skin." Love that line.
also I want to say that too because I never really thought of that until, watching this episode because
Hmm.
we saw Captain Marvel a couple of years ago,
Hmm.
so it's not that long for us. Even though it takes place in the 90s, for us, we're not really thinking about the scrolls and the fact that for the scrolls, it's been 30 plus years since, the events of Captain Marvel. So, that is a long time. That's a whole generation worth of, people. And I love that, it kind of touches on that too, that a lot of the rebels are made up of the younger generation that had to come up, without a home or had to come up on, what do you call it, international land or land that isn't theirs. So I do love that angle on it and that perspective. And I do think that it gives a lot of motivation in terms of um, the rebel group. It makes a lot of sense as to why people would, the scrolls would rebel, or why they, at bare minimum, they would be angry.
They're impatient. You promised us, and
Right.
and then we see you doing this other stuff because if you think that they've been there the whole time, they're witnessing you doing the whole low key situation when Thanos came to snap this, and they just like, you guys keep fucking everything up. You know what? We'll just take it.
You know what I didn't think of either? They had to also,
Yep.
vanish. A bunch of them probably also
Yep.
blipped.
It was a
So
universe
that
wide
must
thing.
be annoying. Like you agreed to take care of us and half my damn family blipped, whatever scrolls I had left are gone now, or half of them, and granted, even though they came back, it's like, thanks for that trauma.
Right. Right. Like, you guys keep messing things up, and
Could have gone without that, I think me and my people have been through enough, thank you.
thank you
Came
very
to your
much.
planet and look what happened,
Thank you very much.
you know?
We're introduced to a new character, Sonia, MI6 operative, played by what's her name, Olivia Colman. I like her relationship with Nick Fury. I like the fact that she kind of knows him, but like she's one of those few people, like everyone in this episode, telling Nick Fury, "Hey, you're a bit too old for this thing. You're a bit too old." And you know what? I feel like Nick Fury is mind messing everyone, mind fucking everybody to
I think
think that
so
he's
too.
old.
Because a couple of things have happened in this episode
Mhm.
that I realized going back, right? First of all, Nick Fury says that he got kidnapped on purpose, which I do believe, because he had mentioned something along the lines of, needing to communicate with people or whatever, needing to get in contact with people. And coincidentally, he gets kidnapped.
Mhm.
What a better way to find an old friend that you don't know how to connect with
Right?
other than taking a stroll in a place that you don't belong.
Yep.
Um, but also Fury ends up planning, surveillance in her place.
Hmm.
After that, she didn't notice that.
Hmm.
As much as she's talking about the mediocre guards,
Mm.
well, you're right. The guards are mediocre
Mm.
because they didn't even notice me plant a whole surveillance unit
Mm.
in your beautiful home.
Hmm.
So I do love that. Like there's parts of Fury that he's still showing that he's still got it, even though people might think he's off his A game.
Yeah.
But I feel like if anything, there's a chance that he's even more on his A game. The man's been in space doing absolutely nothing else. Like he hasn't been social in years. He's up there defending, you know, whatever this massive weapon is, or Earth's protection satellite situation. And I feel like if you're doing all that, you're not sitting up there not playing chess, You're
Hmm.
not sitting up there letting your mind go to waste. I'm sure he's been training every day, especially being that he just lost to Thanos.
Hmm.
I think we're gonna see in this series throughout that like Fury's got something up his sleeve because he's Fury.
Yeah.
He's Nick fucking
I
Fury.
mean, even Maria Hill, when she's talking to him playing chess, she says to him, she worries that he's kind of missed a step. She's like, he used to be 3, 4 steps ahead. And again, I still think he does. He is. I think he's kind of trying to. He's still trying to figure out who to trust. He doesn't. He knows his people, but he's still kind of worried. Because anybody could be a screw.
But you know what too though? Maybe people picking up strange things about him is what his thing is
Hmm.
like, this is how I know you're real. Like Maria, the real Maria, would notice that I'm not 3 steps ahead in
Hmm.
chess, or
Hmm.
the real what's her name, Sonia Fallsworth, would notice that I'm slow or
Hmm.
not picking up on things. So maybe like
Maybe, yeah,
maybe
that's
he's
how he's,
testing,
yeah, he's testing out. I like
right?
that.
Maybe he's testing everybody
Yeah,
else.
I like that. I like
Maybe
that.
he's testing them based on how well they know him.
Hmm. Speaking of Sonya, I liked when Talos was kind of apprehensive to her guards, and Fury's just like, if she does it, she's gonna have a scorched earth policy. So I want to see how savage she can be. Just know that she is savage, even though she works for the quote unquote good guys. She's very, very
Yeah.
savage, and I like the line continuing that conversation when Fury says to Talos, and this is where I like the because we're playing in the world of espionage, right? Fury's world is that espionage world, which isn't so black and white. There's lots of grays in his world, and one of those examples of that is when he tells Talos, the bad guy Gravik knows that mercy is your weakness. Here's your chance to prove him wrong. I was like, ooh, what
Mm.
a line from the good guy. Mercy is your weakness. Here's your chance to prove him wrong. The way that Fury casually says that. What has Fury done in the past?
Oh, we know half the shit he's done, and it's a lot.
I mean,
There's a reason Nick Fury keeps as many secret as he does.
secrets
We
have
can't
secrets.
handle the truth.
Secrets have secrets, as Iron Man
No, we
says.
can't handle the truth. I don't think we can handle Nick Fury's
I
secrets.
mean, look how he tricked the Avengers into becoming the Avengers, right?
Right.
With
The
Col-
master
with Coulson's
manipulation.
blood cards. Those cards were in his locker. So Fury took the cards, rubbed it in his blood, and then gave it to the Avengers and said, "This is what
Had
happened."
to look at his dead friend and say, hold on, stay right there.
Let me rub
I'm gonna go grab these cards
just so I can get the Avengers to avenge.
so I can manipulate some
Right,
superpowered
right,
folks into doing everything I say,
right, right.
no matter how crazy it is, with no pay
No,
and no
we'll just
benefits
figure
package.
it. Seriously, though, we found that out. Falcon the Winter Soldier. We did find that out.
Don't even have health
Nope.
insurance. Come on
Can't
now.
even get a loan from the bank.
Right. Can't even get a loan for the bank. Can't save a boat.
Right.
Don't even have money to repair and fix your father's boat.
Nope.
You're
Apparently
definitely
not.
not buying a house. And you definitely don't have no
Nope.
insurance. That's tragic.
Um,
Wow.
we get
Nick Fury's a
introduced.
effed up guy.
What I liked, get introduced to this where the scrolls are staying. I like what they do here because they play with the fact that they're aliens and they don't get affected by radiation, right? So that's why they can stay in certain parts of Russia where they've done nuclear testing, and they created this new place called New Scrolos. Home in my own skin. Again, I love that line. You understand what it means. You understand their pain. What do you want? Home in my own skin. It's like, damn, sucks for you. But what I also love here is that we get through exposition that the main cast don't have to wear makeup because they are warriors. I love that. That's how you get away with everyone having to wear scroll makeup. Oh yeah, those of us who are warriors don't have to change back into our scroll form.
Yeah, the people with the most screen time coincidentally don't have to switch back and forth.
Right?
I see what you did there,
I see
Disney.
what you
You
did
ain't low.
there.
You ain't low.
We see though, we get a visual how a sequence how they replace people, right? Not only do they replace their visuals, they use the same machine we saw in Captain Marvel, but in Captain Marvel they were just using the machine to read their minds, and now they have an upgrade where they can take your memories so that they can think like you. I like seeing that. I was looking in the background like who else has changed that I recognized.
Right.
And what I like here is that we're going to get into Gravik for a bit in a bit, the villain. What I like is that they're giving us a clear separation between characters like Gravik, who's clearly a villain, to the people that feel like they don't have a home because they don't seem evil, right? And I was reading this
No.
article with the actor who plays Gravik, Kingsley Benadir, and he said that he didn't want a villain who you can empathize with, right? He's just a sociopath, taking advantage of people who are actually in pain and hurt, right? The other Skrulls were following, they're following him blindly. He's like a cult leader, right? Where there you don't feel sorry for him, you feel sorry for the people he quote unquote inspires. They're the ones that you feel
Yeah.
sorry for. And I think seeing where they live was a good way for us to kind of still empathize with them, not necessarily empathize with him. And I thought that was a really good job. And we're introduced to Talos's daughter, played by Emilia Clarke, Gaia. What do you think of what do you like think of that whole connection and we saw Gaia in Captain Marvel as a little girl Skrull, and now she's all grown up. And like you said, she's part of that group of young people who feel they feel like
Displaced.
displaced, and nobody cares for them, and they're kind of doing their own thing. And you can still see that she's got this push and pull. She's not quite sure she wants to be this with this and do what they do, especially finding out that the people she's with are involved in her mother's death. Ooh, what do you think that's all about? Do you think that's true?
I don't know about this whole thing because I don't know if I was talking to you about it, but somebody had mentioned that we don't know much about what's going on with Talos.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a chance that Talos is lying about how his wife died. I don't know what that can mean. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know the extent of it. But we don't really know, like maybe it wasn't the rebel forces at all. Um, but at the same time, I don't know why. That would leave us with the why. But either way, I do like the idea of like I like the idea of, there being no like black and white, there being no like this person's right and this person's wrong. Like you understand every character's motivations and why, Gaia would separate from her dad and their family, especially being that like, you're seeing that it's hard realizing your parents are wrong. you know, when you get to that point where you're like, my parents aren't perfect and they make mistakes, and these people that I looked up to, are just people or make mistakes. So I do like the relationship between them. I like that Gaia isn't fully like a disrespectful. Well, I like that Amelia Clark's angle on it, or portrayal isn't a spoiled brat
Mm-hmm.
or like coming from a place of like privilege or a place of like teen angst.
Mm. I
Like where
hate
she's
you.
coming from. Right, right. It's a place from like, even though I understand, like, I still have to do my own thing and I have to, figure out my own path because, as much as she might want to listen to her parents, they don't really know much. This is a new world to them too. Um, and I think it's like, something similar to what like first generation kids might go through,
Mm-hmm.
where your parents don't exactly relate to the environment or the culture that you're currently in. And, they try to keep you going with the ideals of their culture and their background, but it might not necessarily apply to right now. So I do love that, you're kind of getting all sides. You're getting the extreme, oh, we hate you, we hate Nick Fury, we hate the humans because of the situation we're in. You get the, this is a shitty situation, but we're trying to make it work, people, and you also get the, I don't agree with anybody, but I'm going to keep doing what I think is right today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's Gaia's character is like she's just trying to do what she feels is right,
Mm-hmm.
in each different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't know how I feel about her character because even with the way that the episode ended, it seems like she double
Mm-hmm.
crossed her dad and the crew, but I don't I it's hard to tell where her
Yeah,
motivations lie.
yeah.
Like, is she doing this for the fate of the scrolls? Is this for herself? Is she gonna team back up with her dad?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, no, I'm
I
not
don't know.
quite sure either. The one thing that gives me saving grace for her in that moment is that she did tell her dad that, oh, Gravik and his men know you guys are going to be there.
Right.
So like she gave him that kind of warning, and I think I like to believe that she didn't know the whole plan. She was just say, here's the bag, give it to this person. She wasn't sure to, because I feel like she wasn't. I want to know what she feels about killing people. Which, let's go to that. I did not expect those explosions. I thought they'd be stopped before they happened. And when Gravik just presses it and just see bodies just flying everywhere, I was like, oh, oh,
I was like, oh, this is what we're doing.
oh,
This is the kind of show this is gonna be.
oh,
Ah,
oh.
oh,
And
okay,
then
yeah, yeah,
another
yeah.
explosion.
Why
Uh,
not?
I was like, oh, okay, shit. Because I thought, oh, the mission's gonna stop the explosion before it happens. Nope, that's not what happens at all. We,
Nick Fury has been failing. I understand why people stop and
right?
people aren't following him as much. If I was a scroll, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know, man.
Like, I don't know,
It's not looking too good. You can't even defend the people,
right?
the humans,
Right? Like, oof,
and you care about them.
right?
You're one of them. It's not looking good.
And oof,
Yeah.
Gravik. We find out earlier from Talos that Gravik is mad personally at Fury. Why is that? There's some theories out there. I don't know how it works, the math of it all. There's some theories out there that Gravik might be a illegitimate
Fury's
son.
son.
Hmm.
Oh,
But that means who's the Skrull baby mama? That's the question. Because that's then,
oh shit, he's a
he's a
scroll.
Skrull. So I don't know. He could be.
I mean, he's like 30,
Half Skrulls are a thing in the comics. There has been half
right?
Skrulls. Not many, but it does exist. And not necessarily always with a human, but it does exist. And I don't know.
I've been watching cheesy dramas lately, and a part of me is like, maybe Fury hooked up with Soren. Oh,
There's something personal, it
there's
feels.
something there.
Yeah, there's something personal to
There's
Fury.
something there.
Yeah, I
Maybe Fury trained him or something.
maybe he took him under his wing.
Because
Maybe
he
he
has
did
some
raise him
type
in some
of
way.
he has some type of training background.
Yeah.
It could be that Fury kind of, looked after him.
Mm-hmm. Could be. Maybe he was an orphan and Fury kind of helped him out for a bit. They got close. So as close as they
Right,
can without actually being biologically connected. That could be a thing
right.
too.
Like a father figure.
Yeah, because there is a personal touch. Like he wanted Fury to follow him, and he wanted Fury to see. And even,
Hmm.
oof, can I tell you, it makes sense in hindsight. Completely makes sense. But I didn't think they would do that this first episode. Just boom,
Not episode one.
Maria Hill. I was like,
Because I also feel like we're just starting to like Maria. The nitpick I have is that I feel like we always got like a sprinkle of Maria Hill throughout the entire MCU, throughout every phase. We always get like almost like a tease
Mhm.
of Maria Hill without ever really getting to see her in action or fully see her contributions to the team. Because, like, if you read the comics and you know how badass Maria Hill
She was
actually
director
is.
for a while in the comics.
Exactly, like, and took over for Nick Fury, and I feel like in this, we started to see that, that, like, okay, Maria Hill's kinda been calling the shots, like, while Nick Fury's been, in space or whatever, and I felt like, even the fight scene, we got to see her finally, like, really whoop some ass, and like, "Oh, that's a fucking SHIELD agent," and it's like, "Damn, y'all killing Maria now?" But also, it's like, a part of me doesn't wanna believe it, but
She a
at the same
scroll.
time, right. But if you show a slow bleed out, usually they're not coming back,
I
like
mean,
on screen death.
whenever
But it's
Marvel,
Marvel.
whenever Marvel show us an overhead bleed out, and the character's legs are twisted on the floor,
They're usually
they're
dead.
usually dead.
That's usually like real death. RD.
Black Widow, Gamora, same kind of
Right, that's what I'm saying. I was about to
same
say we
visuals.
got two prime examples. But I will say it's like that was also sad for me too, because I was like, that's kind of disappointing. Because I'm like, you're Nick Fury's right hand. You went in battle without any type of like vest or like I understand his point blank range, which a part of me is like maybe she just has internal damage because she got shot up close
Mhm,
and even wearing a vest and getting shot up close, you still have some punctured,
mhm,
insides, maybe some fucked up organs. So maybe you'd bleed,
mhm,
you cough up blood. Maybe your back is bleeding
mhm.
out because you fell hard. I don't know.
Well, we also have to remember that one, this is where it differs from the comic. At this point in the MCU, for the longest time, at this point actually, Shield has been disbanded. So they
Right,
don't have resources as they would have had. They work on limited resources and whatever they can work on. But there's a part of me that hopes, maybe a few seconds after that scene, she turns into a scroll because we know when a scroll is killed, they turn back into their original form, as we saw with Ross
right.
before. Maybe just
Because
cut,
maybe Fury ran away
yes,
just
the
before.
change. Maybe I don't know. We can
The
have
one thing I will say that I appreciate about the Skrulls, at least, when they become somebody, they don't die.
yeah the person's still out
It's
there.
not like it's not like the shapeshifters in Fringe.
Yeah, yeah. They don't. Oh my god. Yeah, they're not.
Because
God.
that's tragic. I'm sorry for all y'all nerds out
Yep.
there that know Fringe.
Yep.
That was tragic.
Yes,
When
it
a
was.
shapeshifter took a person and you found out, then you knew that
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 person's
person
dead.
was dead,
That's it.
and that was hard to deal with.
Yep.
So in this, I kept having triggering moments of being like, "Ha, Ross is dead," or like this person's dead, and like,
No, they could still be
"No, no,
alive.
no, no, no. They're still,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah.
could
It's
still be
just a
there.
copy.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Yes.
The original is still intact.
Yes, possibly out there.
It's not a replacement. It's a duplicate."
Um,
But yeah,
I really liked the chemistry between Talos and Fury. I thought you can really understand these guys have known each other for a long time, and just to add to that, I really liked seeing you know a different side of Fury. You can almost tell Sam Jackson was able to kind of let loose a bit more because he wasn't so uptight. He was able to kind of be more Sam Jackson, Nick Fury type character. If that makes any sense. Even
Yeah.
like having fun with Talos.
Where's his ass?
When they go to the art dealer and he's just like, oh, is this a King Louis the seat?
Yeah, Louis
Louis
13. Oh,
13th
this
seat?
is a nice
This is
seat.
nice.
I
Well, when he
love it.
tells Talos, when he's like, "Oh, no one wants to see your ugly ass face," and Talos is like, "I'm actually considered good looking for my kind. I know a bunch of
I've
good."
seen some attractive. Ah, I know a bunch of good looking scrolls, and you, sir, are not one.
I
That's so
love
fucked
that.
up.
What I love about that, because it's like Fury's not saying Skrulls are ugly. He's saying you're ugly.
He's saying you're ugly specifically. He's not saying you're people. You're
No,
the
it's
ugly
like
one
you
of
are
your
the ugly
people,
one.
which is so much worse.
I also like when we found out Talos is actually 40 in human years. He looks old
Yeah.
for a 40
No,
year
he
old.
said not even
You're
40
not
yet.
even
I
40.
was like, ooh.
And it's
A
30.
part of me was like, for the actor's sake, please say older.
But he's not middle aged yet though
I was like,
for a
no way
Skrull.
you're not 40 yet.
I love when he
No
says to
way.
Fury, "What did you get for your midlife crisis purchase?" It's like the Avengers. I was like, "Yeah, makes
And he
sense.
has a good
Of
point.
course."
He did. Yeah. Facts.
And it's moments like that I'm like,
Facts.
Sam Jackson got to be Sam Jackson, but it still made sense. It
Right.
didn't. It didn't fall out of place. We get a little tease at Rhodey in this episode talked to the president, worried why Nick Fury has left Sword, and Rhodey's going to be investigating it. There's some people who think this Rhodey is a Skrull, and he's worried about what Fury's doing. I don't know. Rhodey could be. Anybody could be. I'm looking at everybody. I don't trust anyone. Like
They're all
all
scrolls.
Skrulls. The only person I trust is you because at the beginning of this episode, you proved that you weren't a Skrull. But other than
Right.
that, anyone could be a Skrull. You know. And I like that's what I like about this episode. I think this episode is kind of a slow moving start. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think in these kind of like espionage, don't who do you trust kind of stories, you need to move slow to start off with because it builds the tension more. So I kind of appreciated that they didn't kind of go too hard with it because I think they do a good job of
Yeah.
building the tension. I could,
Other than killing
yeah,
one of the main fucking characters that we all thought was going to be a major character in
right,
the show. Yeah,
yeah,
nothing
yeah,
else.
yeah.
Nothing
Nothing,
major. No big
yeah, no,
deal.
no, no
Whatever.
big deals in
It's
that.
fine. We're all fine. We're okay.
I'm curious. My nitpick. I was saying this is a very loose nitpick. I would say that
They killed Maria Hill.
outside of that, I think as much as I love the narrative, what they're doing, it's still right now, as what we've seen, a bit familiar territory from the flag smashes in Falcon the Winter Soldier, because they too were displaced people after the blip and looking for a new home, blah blah blah. And I thought this similarities are very close narratively. You're paying attention to that. Again, that's just a little nitpick, and I think we're going to get more expansion on the Scrolls narrative, more than the flags.
Right.
I think I I think this is doing a better job of making me feel more empathy for
Hmm.
the Scrolls. Um,
Yeah.
I liked what they did with the flag smashes in terms of, again, like I said, people displaced with their homes and things like that. But I think this does a better job because it's like that 30-year gap and waiting and being impatient. And you said you're going to find us a home. And that narrative of the previous generation versus the younger generation, we found out Talos was kicked off the council because people were impatient with him. So there's a divide amongst themselves. And I think that's what adds extra to the narrative, that divide amongst themselves, and almost with Gaia caught in the middle of that. I think that's what differentiates this story. So I really like that. Any other thing that you liked that we haven't talked about?
The very beginning of the episode, what's the guy's name? Prescott,
Yeah,
Agent
Agent
Prescott.
Prescott.
All of the things that he was saying, for those of y'all that didn't read the comics, is basically the summary of Secret Invasion. Like the comics, like it's all accurate. Everything he says, like, the Skrulls infiltrated different, took over different members of the government in different like major countries or whatever.
And superheroes.
Right, and superheroes. So they started all of this chaos. So then by the time all the reveals came, Secret Invasion was a huge deal because all the superheroes didn't know who to trust and they were completely dismantled. And that's why they lost. But yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Which,
I felt like it was a cool little Easter egg, like in the beginning with Prescott, because it was like Ross thought he was crazy as
mhm.
hell.
But then we know
We
why.
realize now also
Ross was.
Ross was looking and realizing like
Oh
shit.
shit!
Oh, he's got us.
But then you
He's
see,
got us.
the question is, how long has Ross been there? Because he calls for help and he calls Maria Hill, who's real, at least we, as far as
That's
we
what I'm
know.
saying.
So,
But is Maria Hill real
and
now?
here's what's gonna blow your mind, Raven. Here's what's really gonna blow your mind. All right. Do you remember in actual Winter Soldier, which led to Civil War? Right. You remember? Actually, no. Civil War. Actually, the beginning of Civil War. After Winter Soldier, beginning of Civil War, when everyone's going after Bucky, Black Panther, and everyone's chasing after Bucky after he's been framed for killing T'Chaka. When he's arrested, who arrests him? General Ross. I mean, not General Ross. Everett Ross. Everett Ross arrests him. Everett Ross is kind of a dick. He's like, I want all your kind to be like this and like that, and he becomes nicer after the fact. So I'm just saying is there's a personality shift in Ross if you look back. I'm just saying. There's a lot of things that he kind of does that maybe he could have instigated Civil War stuff because he was in the right positions. He was there. He was around it.
He
He's kind of
was.
been there a lot more than we
He
realize.
was.
He was around.
Because I mean, I would also love that. I would love it if they did it kind of the same angle as the comics, to where when we start getting reveals of who scrolls are, it's people who have been like people that we've
Yeah.
loved for 20 plus 30 films, that we would have never suspected because we haven't known them to be anything
Mm-hmm.
else. Because technically, as long as we've known them, they could have been scrolls. Because again, the scrolls were introduced in the
Yep.
90s.
They could have been replaced a long time ago.
For 30 plus years
A long
now,
time
there's
ago.
the chance that any character that's between the 90s and now could be a
Yep.
scroll. So I absolutely love that about the possibility of this
What
of
if
this season. I'm like
what
super
if
looking forward to
Rhodey's
it.
a scroll? We mentioned one of Rhodey's a scroll. And one of the things I liked about the comics as well, and that this is where I think it also differentiates from some other like replacement shapeshifter stories. There are also such thing as sleeper scrolls, right? Where you can be a scroll and not know it until you believe you're human until you're activated, and then boom, you're a scroll. So there could be people out there who are chasing scrolls, helping you with the fight, and then suddenly they're activated and just turn around and realize, oh shit, you've been a scroll this whole time. Just saying.
It's gonna be
It's
crazy.
gonna be crazy.
I'm excited. I'm like excited for like everything the show is gonna be and like what it's gonna kickstart for the rest of the MCU,
Mm-hmm.
because I do heavily feel like this show is gonna really pivot a lot of what's going on
Ramifications for
in the
things.
MCU. Because even though we've been dealing with like multiverses and parallel universes and all this stuff, we haven't really seen what's going on the
Mm-hmm.
ground in a
On
while.
Earth, yeah, remain.
And I love that too. That like we're seeing what's actually going on outside of the bigger picture, because we most of what we've been dealing with is like, high stakes, like this is going to take out
Mm-hmm.
humanity, protect the galaxy, it's been like these huge stakes, but we haven't seen like what's going on the ground with people
Mm-hmm.
since the blip, or since these things have happened, what's going on with the scrolls now. So I'm like, I'm just super excited for what's going to happen. I can't believe they kicked it off with killing Maria Hill,
Well,
and also having Gravik do it
oof,
as Nick Fury.
look,
Nick Fury's
oh,
not gonna let that
you
live
did
down
it.
easy.
You did it.
We didn't bring that up
Oh,
either. That
oof.
that
Gut punch, Raven. Gut. You. She died
literally
saying you did it.
shot to the gut, not a gut
Oh,
punch, shot
shot to the.
to the gut
Imagine,
at point
imagine
blank
your
range.
close friend dying in your arms saying you did it. To believe, and you didn't do it. It was a shapeshifter, but they died believing that you did it.
Right, because the last person they saw were you.
Yeah, and to
Like
let you know,
while coming to embrace you,
yeah,
while running up to you to embrace you.
it's like you did it and just dying. Like, what does that do to you? Like, damn.
A part of me is like, Maria, you should know, man. You should have known. I don't know how,
Oh,
but you should have known,
oh,
Maria.
like damn.
Maria. Oh,
and
so
I
sad.
don't know how much connection there will be, but this kind of like ground level espionage style of Marvel movies started off from the Captain America movies, and Captain America 4 is titled New World Order. And we know that Harrison Ford is in there to play President Thaddeus Ross. We currently have a president in this episode. So is this president a Skrull? And then it gets found out, and then because how far does it go? Because we know it's governments.
Stressful. Because now I even feel like General what's the name from Hulk is like has
Yeah.
been a scroll this whole
Well,
time.
well, that's the thing. It's
Just
it's
think about it from a scroll perspective. You wouldn't want Hulk to be
right.
roaming the earth.
The actor, what's his name again? William Hurt. William Hurt, who played General Ross. Unfortunately, a few years ago, he died, and so
Oh, shit.
and so that's why Harrison Ford is bringing in to replace his character. So Harrison Ford will be playing General Ross in the movies. I don't know if they're going to do a roadie Bruce Banner thing where they're just like, it's just a new actor, don't worry about it, or they're gonna make it part of the storyline. I think that's gonna be like, it's a new actor, don't worry, we're moving on with it. And I think
Yeah.
because we know that Harrison Ford's gonna be General Ross, and General Ross is gonna be President of the United States, and there's rumors we're gonna see him
Oh
as the
shit.
Red Hulk because in the comics General Ross becomes the Red Hulk. So I
Oh,
don't know how much ramifications that is from this, but I think there'll be some kind of connection because I think the
it's
Captain
crazy.
America world fits with this world, with Nick Fury and the espionage kind of connections. But
Ooh.
what do you nerdies think? Anything else you want to say?
I think the very last thing I just want to make a note of is just the opening intro sequence.
Hmm.
It was really dope. At first I didn't like it, but rewatching it again, I really like it a lot.
It
Um,
makes sense after you've seen the episode.
Right. And it's also like it's very like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which secret invasion. There were like similar scenes and then also like the warping faces. I love that the faces were changing. You couldn't make out who anybody
Hmm.
is, which is obviously the theme of the show. You can't trust anybody. And then obviously the green is like the scrolls,
The
but
merging,
Earth was also
yeah,
green. So it's like the whole Earth
it's
being
taking
green is
over.
also saying like they're trying to take over, right? Then the green is also obviously the color of envy, which is also a
Mm,
theme of,
I
what's
like
going
that.
on with the scrolls.
I
They're
like that.
envious of the humans having a place to stay.
Fucking it up.
And then it goes from, the green and the envious green to it being literally the eye of a scroll. And then the eye of the scroll
A
becomes
human.
the earth,
Oh yeah,
which is
yeah,
what
yeah.
the scrolls have their eye on.
Oh,
Come on.
I'll tell you
I
this.
was like, nah, this ain't trust fire.
Let's tell you this. There, some people don't think it's fire. There's been an uproar on the internets.
At first, I thought it was whack, but when you break it down, it's actually very, very smart.
Do you know why people are upset? Reason why people are upset is that the director mentioned that the production house that worked on this used uh, did the intro with the help of AI, and people are like, "Oh my god, why would you use AI?" And the director's like, "The whole
Uh,
point was that when you see works by done by AI, you can't tell if it's a human or AI. It's false. It's fake. It's not. That's the point. The scrolls are not human. The scrolls are fake. They're not real." And so they would say, let's do an intro using AI because AI is used to
it's
manipulate,
smart,
to distort reality. And I
right?
was like, that makes sense in the
That's
context
fire.
of this.
I like it
Like,
even
I
more
understand the current
now.
fears of AI.
Even more fire.
I understand the current fears of AI that people have. I get it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it should never be
If
utilized
they put
again.
MLK in a do rag and a Cuban link chain, I was like, y'all taking it too far.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
taking it too
Yeah.
far. Leave leave the great MLK alone,
Yeah.
son. Like you taking it too far. But if you want to make a computer based sequence, yeah, that's fine.
And things are all tools, right?
She's
Things are
fair.
all tools. There was a time where someone would think, "Oh, these young whippersnappers using computers for graphic design and editing." Ugh, back in my day, we use snippety snips. Like
Right.
it's new tools. That's what it is. New tools for creatives to use. Um, what do you nerdies think of this first
Mm,
episode? Let us know.
yeah.
Find us on social media at the Nerdy Bunch. Uh, I'm not ready to say it's going to be the best ever, but I'm willing to say I'm excited for episode 2. So I'm definitely going to be watching this again. We will be doing our podcast weekly on this, and we'll be giving you our full thoughts on the series. So always let us know what you guys think. Thank you, Raven.
Thank you, Dave.
My name is English Dave, or am I a scroll? I hope I'm not a scroll. And this has been a Nerdy Punch
Do
presentation.
scrolls have? What would your scroll name be?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I feel like it's
Davos,
like a human name.
Davos.
I was gonna say Davos too, but I feel like that's like just too easy.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Someone give me a
All right.
give Raven and I scroll
I was gonna
names.
say on the next week.
Yeah, give us scroll names. This has been a Nerdy Bunch presentation of Something to Marvel About, where we spoke about Marvel's Secret Invasion, Episode 1. And as always, Raven,
Keep it nerdy.
peace.
Peace.